Okay, so what one of your videos did get taken down? We talked about the other film festival stuff, but
Yeah.
is it one from like 10 years ago that it's like,
It is one from
oh,
10 years ago,
look,
10 or
they've been
11
hot
years
on the
ago.
case.
I guess so, yeah. Um, it's a it's a blooper video for Cubed, one that we did for Fortnite
Oh
a
yeah.
while ago. The teleporting portal-y one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and I should have had this ready. Oh shit. Let me pull up
Oh,
the
like
email.
the why YouTube took it down.
Yeah. It says we think it violates our harassment policy. What our policy says: content that targets someone with prolonged insults or slurs based on their intrinsic attributes. This includes dehumanizing someone based on their intrinsic attributes. This includes physical traits, protected group status like age, disability, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, or race.
Don't remember
And
slurs in your blooper.
I know. I watched it. I can still watch it. Um, and there is prolonged insults, but it's just us going like somebody flubbing a line, and we're like, "You dumb fuck," like that kind of stuff.
Oh.
So I I think clearly it's like obviously this was a automatic. It was like a computer looked at it, right, and they were
I
like
guess.
hearing the trigger. You know, maybe there being a lot of "you're stupid," "you're dumb," "you're an idiot" words. They're like, oh, they're making fun of somebody or something.
That's crazy though. Like, because I don't know. That seems like something I would think that like a person would have to listen to that and review it. But I guess they probably just threw in certain words into like a filter. And like,
Yeah.
I would imagine that YouTube and all these other places are like utilizing AI to be able to like auto
It,
pick up. Like, so it just does a big old scrape of everything on YouTube. But that's crazy that it was like a 10-plus-year-old video
yeah.
that it got, because I
That
know.
has I checked. It has 70 views. It has 70 views after 10 years. Like, who are we protecting from
Yeah,
me calling my friends dumb and vice versa?
yeah,
The email does actually say that it kind of has it like broken
it,
down in like sections. So it
it
says how
prints
we
out an exact, like, every
like,
single thing you say, like,
yeah,
Ethan, you dumb piece of shit.
that'd be awesome actually. I want to, and it says I can appeal it, but like I kind of want to put in a caveat. I'm like, I think you should have like a human look at this and like you can interpret using basic human like
Yeah.
observation that we're like friends and this
Do
is
you
in a
know what
joking
bloopers
context.
are?
But with the caveat that like it's going to be annoying and obnoxious, but I think somebody should just watch it. Um, but it says we use a combination of automated systems and human reviews to detect violations of our community guidelines.
Yeah, so
So
that's like 95% are automated, and then
I'm like,
5% are like when someone wants to be annoying and appeal it and be like,
mhm.
actually.
I don't know. Yeah, where they like is I wonder if like combination of automated systems and human, does that mean that like they send their automated systems out to comb through stuff and then like one watches this video, flags it, and it like goes to a human employee, and they're like, oh, okay, cubed bloopers flagged for
It's,
harassment or
it's
whatever, and then they see that there's like a black person in it, and they're like, okay,
Yep,
remove.
clearly
Something
that's,
like
yep.
that. They just assume that it's
Yeah,
something
and
like
then
that
they
or
just,
whatever.
dust their shoulders off. They're like, "Yep, another hard day's work."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
Taking
Yeah,
down the real YouTube criminals.
it's like a, yeah, Willy Wonka, like good egg, bad egg, but they've got like a conveyor belt. That's
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah. So
So hopefully, yeah, you should definitely appeal it just to make someone watch it.
yeah, that's it, right? Because like yeah, it's what there's there's no real point in viewing it unless, maybe my friends want to like watch it sometime, but like it has 70 views after 10 years. It's not like it's
breaking
going to
internet.
get me money or like attention or anything, but it's more just like it's the principle.
Yeah. And you know what? I bet that the people that have to manually review videos on YouTube probably they just see nothing but like horrible shit that gets uploaded and then immediately gets flagged, or like people that go live on YouTube and like hurt themselves or hurt other people or whatever. So it's like this will be a welcomed break of just like, this is not racist or violent. It's just it's just some silly bloopers for a short film.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah. Content moderation is a mystery.
Much like the mystery of love.
Yes.
Speaking of, welcome back to There Will Be Duds, ladies and gents. This is episode 142, and I am your co-host, TJ, and with me as always,
I am Nick.
And as always, we watched a movie. That movie this week is Brokeback Mountain from 2005, directed by Ang Lee. It follows two ranchers. It's set in the 1960s. There's two ranchers who get a summer job herding sheep in Montana, the foot of Brokeback Mountain. They fall in love, and then the movie kind of tracks their relationship over the course of a couple decades as they struggle to stay connected in a very unfriendly culture and time to their preferences, sexuality, stuff. Yeah, it's the gay cowboy movie. Everybody knows it as the gay cowboy movie.
Yes.
Which did I mean, I gotta say, I was at the time where like I was like middle schoolish when this came out.
I was like freshman year.
Listening to like, I remember like listening to like Free Beer and Hot Wings and stuff, or like
were you an Opie and Anthony listener back then?
No, not Opie and Anthony, but that kind of like humor and stuff, and like it's the gay movie and stuff, and so I didn't. I mean, I was probably a little young for it, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm saying, regardless of like the content, like I don't think I would have been very receptive to it. Because it's a mature movie and I was a kid, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So I didn't see it until high school or maybe after.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is actually only the second time I've seen it.
Same.
But yeah, that it's retrospectively, it's like really annoying, like watching the movie again. That like it's such a dumb, like basic joke, and it's like what, like that was just the prevailing thing through like its entire like main.
It's also I don't know. I think where we grew up and like the culture that we were around also sort of played into it, because I know like people that I was around and like my friends, and it's like I don't think any of it really came from like a place of like malice or hatred.
It's ignorance.
It was ignorance, really.
Mostly, yeah.
It's like it's like just when you're like, oh yeah, that's gay. That sort of like that dumb guy kind of insult, which I think can be well timed and funny in certain contexts.
Sure,
I think of like the Community, like the Ken Jeong, like ha, gay. but that's kind of making fun of itself a little bit too. Like he looks like an idiot.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah, I think I got this because I know it was like back in the day when we were like collecting like all the best picture winners, and I know this one didn't get it, but I knew it was like kind of heavily contested. Which it ultimately lost to Crash, which you should throw that in the cup just because I've never seen it.
It's in one of the cups. I don't remember which one, but
because
I think it's in the normal cup, but I'm not sure.
Because, with this movie where we're like retrospectively like watching it again, and I'm assuming you had a similar experience where you're like, damn, this is a really good movie that I made fun of like an idiot when I was a kid.
Exactly.
On the other hand, I think Crash is a movie that at the time was probably like, whoa, it's what you would, it's like what you would call.
I'm pretty sure I liked Crash when I saw it as a
Did
kid.
you?
I'm
pretty sure Crash is what you would call woke, not in like the pejorative way.
Oh, okay.
Like the origins of woke were not like right wing. It's like, stay woke, like that kind of thing. It was meant to be like very progressive, socially minded. And I think Crash would be considered woke, but I think, 2024, 20 years later, from what I've heard about it, the way that it handles like race and gender politics, it's like extremely cringy and like uncomfortable and weird. So it is weird how like that one Best Picture, but the legacy of both of those movies have like, almost switched essentially.
Right. Yeah.
So like, yeah, I bought this on DVD years ago just because I was like, I heard it was good. And then, yeah, I watched it probably like 2011 or 12. And, I was like, that is a devastating movie that I'm like way late to the party on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had a pretty similar experience watching it the other night.
Yeah, I think that's more like it, like regardless of where the jokes came from, I think the frustrating nature or like that feeling that I was having this time is like it's just regardless of where it's coming from, it's annoying to think that like that's what this was reduced to in the greater like cultural like zeitgeist, because I think it's such a fantastic movie and such a great story. It's such a great like love story, and like the characters are so good that it's just it's annoying to think that like you have such a beautiful movie like this and it's just a one line like gay cowboy movie. It's just annoying.
Because it is like so much more than that. And again,
they're bi. Actually, they're not gay. They say it at the beginning. They're not gay. So
that's a very like cowboy thing where it's like, I ain't gay, but also, like man's got to eat kind of thing. It's just like, it's, it's like prison, or it's like, it's not gay if it's prison sort of thing. Whatever they need to do to like, delude themselves to, to justify it in their mind. And, I do think that I don't think there was ever any sort of like, ill will towards it. Like, I guess there was like the Christian right probably when it came out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Like
banishing it, but it's just like
Baptist people.
It's like the Back to the Future, well, the Marty McFly where he's like, oh, I guess that one was a little, but your kids are gonna love it, because now with like, A24 and all these other like kind of indie smallish studios, there are so many like queer love story, like queer movies that are out now that it's like it's much more commonplace. Where it's just like, this is like a movie with like gay people in it, and it's like it's just a movie, Where now it's like 2004, 2005. I feel like they probably really had to fight to get like any sort of respect or I mean, I think it was critically acclaimed. Like the people who saw it in that insular Hollywood bubble probably like were like, no, this is incredible. But outside of that, it was probably a huge fight to get any sort of like respect or credibility. Like
Yeah.
In the trivia, like, I guess Heath Ledger was just like adamant about shutting down any gay jokes about it, like, because like you can just imagine like Jimmy Kimmel or one of those like shit smears up there, like, like, oh,
During the Oscars monologue, the opening, like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
which, like, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel, let's look up some of your great bits on the Man Show around this time,
Yeah.
and then we'll talk.
Uh-huh. I really had an urge, like, if I had more time, if I wasn't kind of so like crunched this last week, and had, because I watched it today. I watched it like right before work today.
Mm-hmm.
But like finishing this, like you mentioned Crash earlier, I like my prevailing thought was like, I have to watch Crash now. I have to know. I know it's not as good. I know it's not going to be as good as this, but I gotta see it. I gotta know, like, because as I watched Crash. I'm pretty sure, like, probably like when it won Best Picture. I remember my mom would do that, like, she'd go and like rent it from the video store,
Mm-hmm.
like whatever won Best Picture, and I'd watch it with her usually, and most of the time I'd be like, oh, that was good, I think, but it's I don't get a lot
it's
of
as
it.
good as your, like, 2004 like middle school brain could understand.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like mostly forgot the bulk of it. That like I'm like, yeah, I know it's not gonna be as good, but I have to. It's like thinking like the end of Zodiac. I'm like, I have to know, I have to see it, and I have to know that it's bad.
Yeah, just featuring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Um,
Yeah, so the actual plot of the movie,
right, yeah.
I don't know, the whole time I was just bummed out that Heath Ledger died when he did, because like how many roles we've been deprived that he could have been in, because
Yeah.
the way that Heath Ledger portrays Ennis is just like it's crazy how he manages to, like, he totally encapsulates that, like, tough guy, like he's like in denial so much about the whole thing, and he just like, doesn't talk, and it's, I don't know, his performance is so good that when he does like let emotion through, it's like it's hard to look away from.
What? Man, that's more words than you spoke in the past 2 weeks.
Hell, that's the most I've spoken in a year.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. That was one of the things that I did, is I looked up who won Best Actor that year too, and it was Philip Seymour Hoffman for Capote. He does a great Capote. I haven't seen that movie in a long time either. I don't see it being better than him. Like, much like Heath Ledger is the Joker. I think that's like one of the best like on-screen performances ever. I think he is phenomenal as Ennis. I think he's so good. And like, yeah, that you have this and then The Dark Knight and then he's gone. It really sucks. It sucks so bad, because they're both such like great performances. Yeah, like I think that's what, it's not the only thing. I mean, I was gonna say like it's what like really holds this movie together, but there's a lot of things which I'll get to. But I guess the main thing, the best thing, is those two central characters and how it shows, how it explores the way that they both like are forced to deal with their repression, and how like different they are, like Jack Twist is, he's the more extroverted person, just like normally, but he's also like more accepting to himself, of his own like homosexuality,
right,
or his own, I'll just say his own sexuality.
Yeah.
Whereas Ennis is like, he's the more repressed one. He talks about how his dad showed him the like gay guy that was like lynched.
Yeah.
And you can tell like driving his whole attitude towards like every time Jack's like, oh, we should, get a ranch and we could do this all the time.
He immediately shoots it down with just like,
yeah,
what they'll say. People will, it's like, no matter, it's like anytime he suggests anything, he's like, people will find out and will be like destroyed for it.
Yeah. And it's such a great, it's like such a great screenplay and such great characters, such great performances when you see where both of them are coming from and you understand both of their points of view and you like it's that like the understanding and like it's so many like layers. It's like their own feelings, but then also like the like literal like that would be hard to do that at that time, or who knows, even now.
Yeah, I mean, because Ennis he's in Wyoming.
Yeah, he lives in Wyoming. Jack lives in Texas,
right.
And then they meet up in Wyoming.
Because like there are places
Montana. I'm sorry,
Montana. There are like places in Texas now that would like lynch you. There's like
exactly. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of like Vidor, Texas?
No.
It's like this tiny little town right on the border with like Louisiana, but I think on Wikipedia they call it like a sunset town, which means if you are not white, you should not be in the town after sunset.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And it's like one of those towns that's still like that. So it's like you can only imagine in the 60s like how much worse it would be in those types of places.
Yeah.
Especially in like that culture too, like because I mean that's what happens when Randy Quaid spots them like fooling around, and he's just like, bleh.
Really, like, yeah. But then like when Jack comes back the next year, like looking for another job, and he mentions, then he gets more to the point. He's like, has Ennis been around? And then Randy Quaid says, he's like, I didn't pay you to leave the sheepdogs to herd the sheep while you guys while you stem the rows. And it's like there's that little jab. I'm like, it's and like the fact that that's the only allusion to it. He catches them. He
could have like
he could have. I'm like, is he just mad because they were lazy, that like they weren't doing their jobs? maybe Randy Quaid is actually totally cool with that, but he's like, God damn it, I'm paying them.
It's your work ethic that's the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, look, we all wish that we could be out there rolling around in the fields with our boyfriends, okay? But you signed up for a job and there's a job to do.
Exactly. So when that happens, I'm like, I mean, okay, he's not saying anything wrong technically.
yeah. But I do like that interpretation of that scene where it's like, it could be homophobic, but also he's just like, you didn't do the job I asked you to.
Yeah, it's a fair complaint.
Oh man, did you read any of the stuff about Randy Quaid with this movie? Apparently, no. I think he tried to sue the production company.
Okay.
Because they told him it was like a small indie movie that would never make back its budget. So he agreed to do the movie like at a smaller like wage because it was supposed to be like this small indie movie. And then it blew up and was like nominated for a bunch of Academy Awards. And I think he felt tricked. Which I was like, well,
was that, I wonder if that like, was that really like in their hands? Like if it just, people really liked it. And
I think that's how they sold it to him. I think that's how they sold it to him, that they were like, Randy, come on, buddy. It's going to be a small little indie thing. Because, sometimes like those, like the geezer teasers that have like Christopher Lloyd on them. And it's like, he's in it for 2 minutes.
Yeah. Well, like, also my question for that is like, do they have to lie to Randy Quaid to get, like, is his price point that high that they're like, they're not worried about Heath Ledger or Jake Gyllenhaal, but we gotta get Randy Quaid for this movie, and oh man, but he's asking so much money, so we gotta lie to him. Like, is that really?
He's like, hey, I was Cousin Eddie, okay?
Yeah. I can't think that Randy Quaid is like
that
super like a top bill, like, top dollar, I mean, actor. So Ennis in particular is a very great character as far as like you like for how little he talks. You like understand so much about him, and you understand like the that internal conflict that is just that he struggles with the entire movie, and Jack too in different ways. It's like it makes the entire movie like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The entire thing is so, but like it's done in such a way to where like throughout the movie it only kind of like touches on it or like hints at it. We're like, obviously, like that's what they're dealing with the whole time, is they're like, having to hide their relationship from their wives, and like I feel like done in a different way or in like a different context, it could make them seem like really shitty characters. And like in a sense, if you're looking at it from like just a very I'm trying to think of a like very straight up viewpoints, like they're cheating on their spouses like multiple times a year.
Yeah.
But you don't, at least I'm saying my opinion, this is my opinion, that like I don't feel that way watching it because of how the movie is so good at, they're not doing this out of choice, they're kind of, I mean, somewhat, yes, choice,
yeah,
sure. They're forced to because people don't accept them, and it's like
it's the only it's like the only way that they can like be who they are.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a line. I feel like there's a line with like, because like, yeah, we get these like, we get all their little, fishing trip vignettes of like, over the years, all the times that they get together. And I feel like there's like a line where Ennis says something to Jake about like, it's like all I do is just like work and provide for the family. Like, I think he almost sees it like a job.
Yeah, like his other life or whatever.
Yeah. And it's like, with Jack, that's the only time that he like actually gets to like express himself and be who he is. The other thing, it's almost like work. And like, yeah, watching the movie, it is true that they are like cheating on their spouses, but like it's you get it. You're like, I get it. I understand why you're doing this. And it's like, it doesn't feel malicious either.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's hard to like describe it without basically like saying that cheating is fine. Like, I was like, no, it's like a compulsion. I was like, yeah, that's what cheaters say. It's like hard to like justify it, but it's justified in a weird way. I will say I do feel for Michelle Williams' character. Like when she sees them for the first time in the alleyway, and we were talking so much about how like Ennis is like, very repressed, very stoic about it. When he first gets the postcard and about like Jack being like, hey, let's go on a fishing trip, he is like running around all giddy, like bouncing up and down. I'm like, this is the least subtle, like, I would think that you're cheating on me if I saw like, oh, I'm gonna go fishing with my friend. Like, yahoo! And he's like running around, like throwing all of his stuff in his bag, and he's just like, okay, bye, and he just dips. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'd be like, that. So what? Something's going on here.
Yeah, like he's like literally. There's a part where he's like downing like half a dozen beers, and he's smoking, and he's like sitting at the window, just like staring out the window.
Yeah. And I think it's probably easier for Jack Twist because I think his marriage with like Anne Hathaway quickly turns into like a bureaucratic transactional relationship.
Yeah. That's definitely not explored as much. It's like they're fairly even, but Heath Ledger's definitely like the main character. I think like you definitely get more of that marriage explored than the other one. So don't really see like the deterioration of Jack's marriage as much, but you do understand that they also are kind of having some disconnect, but you never see and you never know. I did see either in the Wikipedia, I did read some of the IMDb trivia that, which I do love. I can't think of any other examples, but I know that there are other ones where directors will do this so in the phone call where after Ennis hears that Jack died and he calls Anne Hathaway, that Anne Hathaway said that she did 2 takes or 2 like versions. One where she does know that he was gay and that they were having an affair and that he was like murdered because of that. And then another version where she doesn't know. And apparently they edited together those 2 takes. So you see both versions in the movie. And I really like that. I like when filmmakers do that to add to the ambiguity of like, because and like you watch it and the whole time you can't tell.
You don't know.
Is she, because she's very stoic and you're like, it could be because she knows who Ennis is. And she's like, yeah, I know that you're his secret lover and that, this is, she was saying like, this is basically your fault. Or she could just be that way because her husband died and she's trying to not get emotional or,
Yeah.
We were just good friends.
Get in touch with his folks. Suppose they'd appreciate it if his wishes was carried out. About the ashes, I mean.
The most emotion you get out of her is like you can see that her eyes are like kind of welling up with tears, but like she's so cold and bureaucratic almost that she never breaks it. And I think that's so affecting because that is like the culmination of like Ennis being essentially in his mind proven right, because I think the sort like as she's saying it, because what does she say, like he was changing a tire and like the tire blew.
Tire exploded and like the tire rod like smashed his face in or something.
Just like killed him instantly. But in Ennis's mind, he sees him being dragged out and like beaten to death, very similarly to like the guy that his dad showed him and his brother. So it's like in a way he's just like, I knew it. I knew it was gonna happen, because Jack also like alludes to like finding what does he say? Like he's like, I can't turn it off like you can.
Yeah.
Where
he's like I can't survive on like couple of high altitude fucks a year, I think is what he says.
That's such a good line.
You count the damn few times that we have been together in nearly 20 years, and you measure the short fucking leash you keep me on, and then you ask me about Mexico, and you tell me you kill me for needing something I don't hardly never get. You have no idea how bad it gets. And I'm not you. I can't make it on a couple of high altitude fucks once or twice a year.
Turns a phrase that they have, like the that kind of kitschy sort of not southern, but like
Yeah. Almost like
that way of speaking.
Yeah, almost like a Cormac McCarthy kind of Western, like
I suppose
plain
so,
speak, or like it's like very plain, but also these like occasional colorful phrases for things.
Yeah, like you're. Well, that's not like the This is a what is it? This is a son of a bitch of a unsatisfactory situation or something like that.
Yeah. There's some really good
that.
ones like that.
Also with the country vibe, I really like the score too. That kind of old timey country twang.
Yeah.
And then it closes with a Willie Nelson song, which is really good.
It was such a gut punch.
Yeah.
There's I'm not like super familiar with Willie Nelson's discography, but like some of his songs are just like, have you ever heard the song Sad Songs and Waltzes?
Yeah.
Like Cake covers it, which is how I initially heard it. But like
I think me too, yeah.
Even like, but like Willie Nelson's version, like I absolutely adore that song.
Yeah.
And the song that plays at the end, I think even the song that plays at the end is like, because like isn't like it's like he's dead now or something like that.
It's something, it's like he was a friend of mine, and it's basically like saying like every time I hear his name I go back to that time or something like that. And it's very, it's very kind of like fitting for the movie. He was a friend of mine. Every time I think of him, I just can't keep from crying because he was a friend of mine. So it's very simplistic lyrics, but effective in that way.
Yeah.
Damn, even he died on the road. He just kept on moving, which which I guess well, if it's how Anne Hathaway said it, he died on the road. So it's actually very accurate.
Yeah.
It's very fitting for the movie.
And then like, the score is also like gorgeous because like they didn't shoot it in the United States. They shot it in like Canada, but it was like a mountain range. But like that score with like the visuals was like, whew, it was so good. Like, and I love that they like actually used sheep. Like, they like actually herded the sheep around. Which there's a really, really good IMDb trivia bit where I guess like sheep are very specific on like what sources of water they'll drink from.
I think my animals are.
I guess like Ang Lee just had a hell of a time trying to like get the sheep to drink from like a lake or a river. Okay. Ang Lee struggled continually with the sheep during the shoot. Apparently sheep don't drink from running water, only ponds and dams. Ang tried all day to get them to drink from a stream, but they wouldn't oblige. I like that they used the word oblige.
Yeah. That's funny.
Also, American sheep carry a bacteria or virus that Canadian sheep don't possess. The film scene where the two herds of sheep become mixed up had some nightmarish real-life parallels, as the Canadian government had expressly warned them of dire consequences if they caused any disease to spread to the local animals from the south of the border variety. But like, I don't know. I like how I think everybody like committed to their role, where like again on the IMDb trivia, apparently Anne Hathaway just straight up lied and said that she knew how to ride horses to like get the part. Like I think she showed up to the audition, and I'm pretty sure she was wearing like her princess gown from Princess Diaries 2 when she auditioned. Nice. But I think she just said like, yeah, I know how to ride horses. I know how to do rodeo stuff. Just straight up just lied to him. But it's like, you like, I think, you know, Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal like rode horses and like did a lot of their own shit. Like I think even Anne Hathaway like learned how to do whatever it is she like when her
rodeo.
and Jack first meet, when like she kind of goes flying and goes around the barrels and then comes back. I think they ended up using a stunt person for the movie, but I think she actually like learned how to do that.
Okay.
So I think
That's
you
cool.
know with all of them basically learning, like it's like they all kind of went method for this movie, and I think that really adds to the like authenticity of it.
Yeah, sure.
I also love that like you can definitely tell like what decade they're in based on Anne Hathaway's hair. Because she definitely does like the it reminded me of like Tammy Faye Baker.
I
like
was
the
literally thinking of
Were
Tammy
you?
Faye. Yep.
Like 'cause she's like she's got the huge like blonde like it's just like yep, that is very like
Swoopy hair.
of the time.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I actually I had a note that like I could just watch an entire movie of them ranching on that mountain range, just like with like the location was so like just beautiful, and you know that like paired with that the like simple like twangy guitar music, it was just it's very like if it wasn't so like heartbreaking, I feel like it's like a chill movies to study to sort of thing. that's what the first like I don't know like 40 minutes or whatever it could be.
Yeah.
I don't even know how
Yeah,
how
it
long
is
that
like
part
pretty perfectly self-contained in that first, because having not seen this movie in a long time, I forgot about a lot of the other like stuff that happened. Like it's kind of like you know
stuff,
you know like it's not comparable in terms of like story and plot, but it's like Full Metal Jacket. Everybody remembers
how it's
the first,
sure, okay,
like all of like the drill sergeant shit at the very beginning of that movie. Everybody remembers that, and then afterwards it's like some Vietnam War stuff happens. With this movie I was like they're all of like the major like gay cowboy stuff. It's like that's the stuff that's like memorable to me. And then it's like, oh yeah, this happens, oh yeah, that happens, you know, like that kind of shit. I did not know David Harbour was in this movie.
I was just
or
thinking
Linda
about that part.
Cardellini.
Yeah, Anna Faris is in it too.
Yeah.
All those people were kind of. Well, David Harbour looks the same.
He does. Because we got to that scene because Chloe hadn't seen it before, so we're watching it, and I'm like,
oh, okay,
holy shit, that's David Harbour.
yeah.
Which I loved. I loved his little bit with Jack. Like he kind of like expanded the universe in like a little bit. That it's like, oh wait, like this. Maybe I'm not as like isolated and alone as I thought I was, because like, you know. But again, it's all, you know. I ain't gay, but there is a ranch or a cabin that we should rent. You know. If you know.
Yeah. The way that was like broached, where he like says it and like he doesn't like respond. They kind of just sit in silence for a few seconds, and like I don't know, I feel like it's like sort of taken for granted where like I guess in like straight relationships or like that it's just like it's already implied boys like girls. Right. So it's just like you have to like test the water, but if it's the wrong person, you could end up like that guy in the ditch.
Yes.
We ought to go down there some weekend. Drink a little whiskey, fish some, get away, you know?
Yeah, it's like it was like a heartwarming scene. Like it's nice that there's other, but also I'm just like, it could be scary. Makes me think of Boogie Nights near the end when Dirk Diggler like can't get his dick up, so he like he's in the truck and he's just like a guy pays him to like jerk off in front of him.
Oh yeah,
and he can't do it, and then like a bunch of dudes just show up and like beat the shit out of him, like calling him like slurs and just like Like, oh, you thought we'd be into that? But it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's in like the
Paying
70s.
me, whatever. Yeah. And in California. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's, kind of speaking of David Harbour, that Kalia was like, she's like, it's like, oh man, if my only other options were Michelle Williams or Anne Hathaway, I would also choose Jake Gyllenhaal or Heath Ledger, like speaking as a guy. And I was like, yeah, me too. And then like you get to the you know, the other couple, Anna Faris and David Harbour, and I'm like, I mean, yeah. You're
always opting for the dude. Yeah. This is also like Anne Hathaway's like second movie ever where she does like a nude scene, which is, so I don't know, it was like very jarring to me because I had only known her as like,
first one was Princess Diaries.
Yes.
Too.
it's always kind of weird when like an actor or actress like branches out and like, it's like, you know, it's to be expected that like you do more mature adult films.
Sure, yeah.
But it's still like, I can't not see her as Mia Thermopolis. So I'm like, Mia, no, don't. Michelle Williams was never like a Disney kid, so I'm just like, yeah, let him fly.
Nah, she was Dawson's Creek, which, you know, was like a teen show, you know.
There was a scene transition, and I wonder if you also clocked it. That was like wild. It's like,
I don't know.
Like sometimes there are like scene transitions where I'm like, oh, real subtle. It's like the first sex scene with Heath Ledger and Michelle Williams, where like, you know, they're kind of like making out a little bit, and then they lay in bed, and then he very like abruptly like flips her over.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, literally right as he thrusts, the scene transition changes to Jake Gyllenhaal flying out of a pen on a bull, like kicking him like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, it's, you know, I'm like, oh, what are you trying to say here?
I see, yeah, sure. No, I didn't think about that, but yeah, I get where you're going with that.
I love shit like that. Like, there's a scene transition in Mad Men where Pete Campbell has to, like, go down to, like, basically, it's like a fertility clinic. Like, he has to, like, provide a semen sample. And so there's a shot of him, like, kind of in the room where he's supposed to provide the sample, and he's looking at, like, you know, porno mags, and the scene transition cuts to Roger Sterling with a paddle ball just going pat 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 pat. So I appreciate a good, like, you know, scene transition that's just like like, you know what's going on.
Yeah. That's funny.
The scene at the end that I also forgot about, when he goes and visits like Jack's family, that is like the most unnerving, uncanny like house.
I know, the house is
like,
so
like
awful.
Completely painted white, like nothing on the walls.
So much.
I think every house and like location in this movie is like very, very realistic, but it's like nothing looks glamorous like whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like even like before they moved to like their apartment in the city, like the farmhouse that Heath Ledger and Michelle Williams live in, it's like dingy and gross. And again, that's like, you know, true to how it probably was out there. But yeah, Jack Twist's parents' place was like so unnerving, and like his dad just sitting there, just like, he has to know.
I think so. Yeah. That's the vibe that you get, is that they know why he was killed. They know, you know, why Ennis is there. And like the kind of like that, it's not necessarily like a look, but like when he comes back down with like the shirts, and she's like, she also understands too, but she's like okay with it or whatever.
Yeah,
to some degree, you know, because she kind of like, I don't know if she like full on like smiles at him, but she like, you know, nods and like, it's like, yeah, you know, you can have that, you can take that or whatever. You really want him to like, it's like the movie doesn't let you have anything, but like you really want him to just knock this old bitch out, the dad, I mean, and take Jack's ashes up to Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, yeah. Which that's a detail that I didn't notice until I read about it in the synopsis, and it's like it's such a crushing detail when he goes into his closet, the way that the shirts are arranged, and then when you go back to his trailer and his shirt is on the outside.
It's been a long time since this happened to me in a movie. I was weeping at the end of this movie. I had tears down, like streaming down my face, and I looked over at Klee and she was too. And the credits started rolling, and she was like, "Are you crying too?" And I like got up and I was like, "It's a really good movie." It's like, but yeah, it's like, God, I was tearing up before I roughly remembered how the movie ended. Something weird that I thought happened at the end of this. I swore, because like, and it ends with his daughter showing up, but I thought I remembered her saying there being a moment where she basically says, "We know," like, you know, like her and her sister always knew that he was gay, but that they were like okay with it or something. And it doesn't happen. So I don't know what the fuck I was thinking of. But anyways,
maybe you're thinking of the scene with Michelle Williams when she kind of confronts him about the fishing rod.
No, because how I'm remembering it in my head is like, it wasn't like, it was like she was like happy about it, or she was accepting of it, like, you know, we still love you, we understand. But I guess there's another movie about a dad who's secretly gay. I don't know. I don't know what I'm thinking of. But anyways, it's when she you know, she asked him to come to her wedding, and he's like, "Oh no, I got the roundup," which is like always his excuse for like, I can't do this next month, I got the roundup coming. And then he's like, "But they can find a new ranch hand, I'll come to your wedding." I was tearing up there because Ennis is, like I said, like such a character that you empathize with so deeply, that like just him opening up and like shirking his duties for his daughter just that little bit, and like, you know that he loves his kids. It's not like that's any big revelation, but like, it's just so nice to see him do that, to see him like say that, and because he's such a closed off character otherwise, like I was already tearing up, and then he opens the thing and it's fucking devastating. And then like, just coupled with it being Heath Ledger and him, you know, passing away like shortly after, there are certain actors that like, it just adds an extra weight to it. I mean, I get that way about Philip Seymour Hoffman. Sure, yeah.
You know, like his character in like Magnolia, like the, you know, because he's like crying throughout that entire movie anyway. So I'm just like,
right,
like, I miss you, Philip. But yeah, it's just like there's this extra weight with him. You kind of see him do that a little bit when he's like sitting at the diner and Linda Cardellini shows up with like the new guy that she's seeing, and she spots him, and like she kind of comes over and starts, you know, sitting at the table with him, and he's very like, at first he's like very kind of like sarcastic and mean to her, and then as soon as he like, you know, sees that she starts crying, like he starts welling up and he's like, "I'm sorry." And it's like, you get like these little breakthroughs with this character when he shows emotion. It's like, because you don't get it so much of the movie, that when he does let it through, it's like, it's just the effect that it has on you is crazy.
And I think that's like, that all comes back to like that understanding of, and the way that like, you know, them cheating on their wives the whole movie, it's more, you kind of like understand it more than you would otherwise, is because like that is like the root of his character, just repression of like everything, and it's just so tragic that is his character, and it's just built into like every facet of his personality, is like having to tamp down like everything about himself, and that like once Jack is gone, that's it. That's like his self, his freedom is like gone essentially. Or you could look at like maybe his a more positive way. I kind of looked at that ending, like when him, mentioning the roundup and then being like, oh, but whatever, I'll come to your wedding. Maybe that's him being like, I didn't do that with Jack, and now he's gone. I never, quit. I never quit my job for Jack because I had to maintain my life. I had to maintain my, my persona or whatever. But now realizing that he lost him, it's like, I need to make that extra effort with the people that I care about that are still alive. So maybe that's why he's like, okay, yeah, I'll come to your wedding, and
Yeah.
So maybe that's a positive way to look at it, is like maybe Ennis will now kind of open up, somewhat. I don't know.
Yeah, because like I think that he's learned that from him, because like we said earlier, like Jack is like the type A, more extroverted person, and yeah, when he loses him, he's like, oh, I can't just be closed off to the world all the time. Because it's like Jack, there's that scene where he's in Mexico. It's sort of implied that Jack, kind of, he can't, he says, I can't, just like turn it off and repress it like you can. And it's like with Ennis, Jack is like the only one.
Right.
The only one. And it's like Jack dies, his like, that dies with him too,
Yeah.
And yeah, I do think that's him like realizing like, I can't be just closed off to everybody all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like, yeah, I think it's I guess easier for him to like, it's not like he has to have like a man. It's that he has to have Jack.
Yeah.
Like, I think in the Wikipedia or whatever, it was like talking about like the sexuality, being like some people like debate whether it's like, if they're gay, straight, or bi or whatever, but somebody, the writer, maybe it was one of the actors, said that it was like, it wasn't two like men falling in love with each other, it was two souls that fell in love with each other. And I really like that interpretation.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. Do we want to move to scores?
Yeah.
If I think I kind of covered most of this stuff, and also it's like we're like an hour in, so
yeah.
Okay. I'll start us off. I was most of it I was like strong 8, but then the ending I thought was just so like, and I remember there was, the ending was emotional, but I just thought it was so deeply moving that I bumped it up to a 9. So yeah, I think it's just just wonderful. It's heartbreaking, but an amazing piece of cinema. Great like masterclass of a performance with Heath Ledger, and Jake Gyllenhaal's like great too, but it's it's the subtlety of the Ennis character is amazing. And then everything else I mentioned, it's like cinematography, but also just like the location is just like you could you just plant a camera on a tripod anywhere there and it looks good. Sort of thing. So it's yeah, good. And also another moment that I really liked was the Thanksgiving scene where Jack tells his father-in-law to like,
You sit down, you old son of a bitch! This is my house, This is my child, and you are my guest. You sit down before I knock your ignorant ass into next week.
Yes. Because like
even
right
Anne
before that,
Hathaway, she's just like, she kind of does like a little smirk, like, yeah.
yeah. Because like right before, like during that scene, I was like, that guy's such a fucking cunt.
Yeah.
And then he does that.
The first time you see him, it's like when like his child is born.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he like takes his keys and he's like, oh, here you go, rodeo. And he like does one of those, like he doesn't even look at him, and like the keys just like hit him and fall to the ground, and it's like just totally emasculating.
And then he's like, doesn't he look just like his grandpa? Sure, dude.
Oh.
Yeah, that was just a bit that I wanted to mention because I like that part a lot. So yeah, 9 for me. Great movie.
I also went with a 9. I
Nice.
really, 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 really like this movie. I think the cinematography was gorgeous. The location was absolutely gorgeous, and like Heath Ledger is just out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole time, I was just so sad that again we never got to see more of Heath Ledger, like a later period Heath Ledger, you know, doing more movies, because
I know
the guy could do it. And it's like, I think you know at that stage in his career, a movie like this, it's probably, you know, it's a big career risk. I don't know, like being in a movie like this, because like we said at the beginning, you know, this movie was like the butt of a lot of jokes for a lot of people because they clearly like either didn't see it or didn't understand it. And you know, this movie like really stands the test of time, where it absolutely holds up. Every performance in it is fantastic, but like I think Heath Ledger just kind of elevates everything else about it. Even he was
like 26 here or something. He was like mid-20s, just crazy,
wild. Even in like the Wikipedia for like critical response, there was a conservative radio host, Michael Medved, described it as extremely well done, and that as a film it was better than The Agenda. Whatever that means, but it's like it's a compelling enough movie that it doesn't feel like a like a gay pandering movie. You know, it's like with like a Billy Eichner or someone like that, just like
God,
you know,
be fucking terrible.
Like super over the top, or the characters are every character is like extremely realistic, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like a movie that I feel like transcends like just being like the gay cowboy movie, and it's like I will spend the rest of my life apologizing to it's not like anyone even remembers like jokes, but it's like I will always apologize for making jokes about this movie like 20 years ago, because it's an incredible movie. So 9.
We're recording this just after the Oscars, day after. And yeah, I watched the ones that I had to catch up on. The last ones was Past Lives and American Fiction. I think those were the last of the best pictures that I had to watch. Both pretty good.
I feel like I've only seen like half of them, but I feel like in terms of best pictures, pretty solid year.
I think pretty solid too. Yeah. Like Maestro is the only kind of standout, like, which I kind of thought from
Maestro feels so like, astroturfed. It feels like the most astroturfed movie.
Yeah. It wasn't good. There was literally a scene where I might have mentioned this to you already, where they play the REM song for like 10 seconds and you get the part where they say Leonard Bernstein.
Yes.
I'm like,
yes.
Like, why? Why is that in this movie? Why did they do that?
That's insane.
It's so weird.
Because like we watched the Oscars at your place yesterday, and then as we were kind of leaving, the Oscars went directly into Abbott Elementary,
right?
And Bradley Cooper was in that episode.
Yeah.
It almost feels like he was anticipating winning stuff, and that was like supposed to be like a fun, like tongue-in-cheek, like victory lap type deal. Like Bradley Cooper was the featured article on Wikipedia today as well.
Oh, really?
He was.
Weird.
So it feels extremely astroturfed. Like he paid like a marketing firm or whatever to like really push them. Like it feels like you know what they were accusing what's her face from like Mandy.
Andrea Riseborough.
Like that
Last
sort of
year
like
with the to Leslie.
Yeah, like they were just like kind of accusing her of like trying to like schmooze the Academy.
Difference was that was actually a pretty good movie.
Her movie
and
was
she was actually pretty good in it. I don't remember who. Oh, that was Michelle Yeoh that won. That's right. Yeah, I mean, she was good too. But Andrea Riseborough, like I was totally cool with her being nominated after like watching the movie. I was like, yeah, pretty good. Maestro. No, like it was I feel like everybody's said it a million times, but it was like the most like Oscar baity movie I've seen in a few years at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's like, what is it, historical period pieces, like slave dramas, and well, I guess historical period pieces or biopics.
Yeah.
That's like the wheelhouse that the Academy really likes to you know, pat themselves on the back over.
Which, other than, I mean, Oppenheimer was a historical biopic too.
True.
But Oppenheimer it feels like a Christopher Nolan movie, right? It doesn't feel like him necessarily trying to do like
this is how I'm
an
going
Oscar
to win an
baity,
Oscar.
Yeah, biopic. It's just he's just gonna do a
he
Christopher
made this
Nolan
movie
biopic.
anyway.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, so really, other than Maestro, pretty good lineup. Like I think everything else is pretty good.
Yeah.
With like definitely my like Poor Things was my favorite, but very happy with like how most of like the awards turned out. Like I'm glad, you know, I think it's cool. Christopher Nolan finally got a director nomination. I do think Cillian Murphy was my pick. Like he is who I would have said. Like I really liked him in that movie too, so I'm glad that he won. And also I like Cillian Murphy. I'm happy with it winning, even though again my pick would have been Poor Things, but I'm very cool with Oppenheimer winning. And then like I was saying, like before the winners were announced, like the smaller awards, like usually there were so many surprises where like you just expect like them to just go with, you know, for best sound was one that I was totally surprised that they went with. But I think you heard me and Kalia like muttering like how good the sound in Zone of Interest was and how like key it was.
That's the point, pretty much. You know.
But usually the Oscars like, oh, we'll give it to the movies with the biggest sound, with the most sound, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I assume they were going to give it to Oppenheimer, but I was very happy, very pleasantly surprised when they gave it to I almost said The Sound of Freedom, The Zone of Interest, and then also. Other one, obviously, I was very excited about Godzilla winning visual effects.
You stood up out of your seat.
Yeah, like, yes! I did. Yeah, I was like,
that's exciting because like,
yeah,
have those because like, I feel like the Academy doesn't really like Godzilla is very much not like a Oscars type movie, right? Like I feel like we've talked about like, you know, fantasy or action or horror really are not like the genres that get recognized. So it's very cool that like a Godzilla movie got a little bit of stage time, and they all had the little Godzillas with them, which was very cute.
They even had, I saw Connor sent me a picture afterwards that they had their shoes, the heels on all their shoes was a Godzilla like hand like holding up like this. I mean, you have to see a picture to get what I mean.
That's
exactly,
awesome.
but yeah, and it's just like obviously like I adored that movie. You know, I would put that as a Best Picture nominee over most of the other movies that were nominated. Literally, like, I maybe like the only other one that's a contender against that is like Poor Things for me. Like those are, but also it's just being like the the underdog story. It's just like this Japanese studio, like it being a foreign film getting nominated for something that's not like it wasn't up for international feature, but it was a foreign film that got nominated for something is kind of that alone is kind of crazy. And also that it was like 15 million was their budget, like that they won on like such a low budget is very cool too. It's not like they just gave it to the the ones that spent
just
the
like a
most money
CGI fest and like has like the best visuals or whatever.
Like Guardians of the Galaxy, which I also loved. Also one of my favorite movies of the year. Yeah. But I would have been more just like, all right. If they had won. And it looks really nice, but
that's like that's what you expect it to go to, because usually that's like the one that people know. Like best animated feature, I was surprised that it went to The Boy and the Heron and not Elemental, or I guess Spider-Man.
Or Elemental, right? Yeah.
Because usually I feel like that category, if there's a Pixar movie that year, that's like a lock for the Pixar movie, because like it's Pixar, and that's what they do.
Right. But,
it's cool that out of retirement Miyazaki still got it.
Yeah.
Which it's funny. He also just like straight up wasn't there.
Yeah, but that's not surprising.
But also apparently the last time, I don't know if it was like, I think it might have been for Spirited Away. Whatever one was around 2003. Apparently, I saw some tweet that was like, yeah, Miyazaki wasn't there because he was like protesting the Iraq War. So I can only imagine why he might not be there this year.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, like, Miyazaki's a very principled guy.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna say the little factoid that I saw was that The Boy and the Heron is the second like traditionally animated movie to win Best Animated Film, and the first one was Spirited Away.
Oh,
so so the only two like traditionally animated ones are both Miyazaki movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's usually CG. Wallace and Gromit won one year. Just awesome. I fucking love Curse of the Were Rabbit. But yeah, that was one where I was like, I didn't like love Boy and the Heron or Spider-Man, but I was also kind of like, I'm rooting for, like, I think if I put them up against each other, I think I liked Spider-Man a little bit more, but I was rooting for Miyazaki more. So that was another cool little kind of surprise win. Poor Things getting costume design and production design, like it was fun too, because like usually you're not as invested in like a lot of those technical ones, but this time it was like, oh yeah, obviously like Barbie's not going to get Best Picture, but obviously Barbie's going to win production design and stuff. Did you see the movie? Like, it was great, but in the back of my head I'm like, yeah, but like Poor Things it's like really cool what they do with that too.
The
and then
look
like
of Poor Things is wild.
And then but the fact that they did that and like almost totally shut out Barbie, I was surprised. I thought Barbie was going to kind of take up a couple of those more technical awards.
Yeah.
But the only one that Barbie won for was the other one that it was a shoo-in for, which is the song.
Yeah. but it was the Billie Eilish one,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
the Ken.
That was the one not surprise. Like if I'm Just Ken had won, it would have continued the trend of surprising wins or pleasant surprise wins, which is what most of those other ones were.
Yeah,
And then there's a couple. So the Billie Eilish one was basically a given. Divine Joy Randolph was a given, but that was cool too.
Yeah.
I didn't get why people like love her performance so much. I thought she was good, but I wasn't like blown away by hers. But like,
that's how
every
I
time I hear
felt.
people talk about that movie is like, oh, she's so amazing, she's so great, and I was like, yeah, she's good. Like everybody was good in the movie, but I don't know. I guess I liked for the ones that they had a choice for. I'm like, I guess I liked Emily Blunt more, but if it was up to me, I probably would have nominated. I don't know. They might have both been under like Best Actress, but like, I'm in the camp of I wish that May December got some more nominations because I really like that movie.
Yeah.
And like, Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore were both great. Charles Melton was fucking awesome in that movie. Very Ennis like performance. I thought he's a very like quiet, repressed character. Really feel for that guy. He was really good.
Yeah, there were a handful of movies that I thought would have been getting more Oscar buzz that didn't make it in. Like May December was one of them. What did you say?
Napoleon.
I thought. I mean, I haven't seen it, but Dream Scenario seemed like one that might have been in there.
That one, I was like maybe, but I'm not like totally surprised that it didn't either. I feel like that could.
The Iron Claw, I thought, would have been up for it because
people
that's
were upset
like
about that. Yeah,
that's like a sort of a prestige-y biopic kind of thing.
Yeah,
tears at the heartstrings kind of deal. It would have been. I mean, it would have been cool to see like Zac Efron up for like Best Actor.
Been,
because I love really trajectories like that. Actors who break out of that mold and like you're pleasantly surprised to learn that they like have decent acting chops. Kind of like Robert Pattinson. Where like he might have had like the smaller indie roles, but he was Edward in Twilight for a long time.
Right.
And then I feel like he kind of had to fight tooth and nail to like be taken seriously. And then you watch, Good Time or
Lighthouse.
There's a superhero one that he's in that yeah, The Lighthouse.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that.
He's insane in The Lighthouse. I love him in that movie. But it's like, oh, you're like, oh yeah, he actually, he can act, and I'd like to see that for Zac Efron.
Yeah. Wasn't Robert Pattinson in something like more recently that he was like even more recent than the Batman? Maybe I'm thinking of The Boy and the Heron because he plays the Heron in that.
That's right. That's right.
He's pretty good. I don't know. I could be.
No, that was,
and maybe I could be thinking.
Remember Me.
Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of The Devil All the Time. That was before Batman, but it was kind of recent.
Oh,
that's also just kind of like a little. He's not in that one a ton, but he's good in that one too. Yeah, what
is Tenet? I don't know. I kind of want to see Tenet.
I guess it's worth a watch. It was very hard to follow.
Yeah.
And no matter how much they like explain it, I didn't understand the tech, the logic of how that shit worked. I didn't get it. I didn't understand. But like the big, like the action is cool. It's neat. Like visually, it's really cool. But I still never understood it.
Yeah, it was like one of those weird COVID movies that like was supposed to come out and then COVID happened and then it didn't come out and then it didn't come out and then it came out in theaters and like I don't know. I feel like it didn't like have its proper like day in the sun. Like COVID was just like a vacuum like that year for like movies and culture.
Right, yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know, I feel like people are I've seen people like sort of reevaluate it because I think when it came out, everyone was like, "This is dumb as shit. I don't know what's going on."
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Maybe people after Oppenheimer, they're all like Christopher Nolan pilled, and they're like, "Oh wait, no, this movie's actually great."
Maybe, yeah.
It's just funny on the Wikipedia. It says Nolan took over 5 years to write the screenplay after deliberating about Tenet's central ideas for more than a decade. Like he's just like, it's so mind blowing. Even I'm having trouble like figuring it out.
Or maybe it's just kind of dumb. Maybe it's not like. Maybe something is hard to understand because it's like bad. Maybe it's not because it's like really well. Maybe not because it's like intelligent.
I just remember seeing someone make like a fake movie poster for Tenet, but it was just Tom Green in Freddy Got Fingered when he's
I think you showed
he's
that.
the backwards man.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else with Oscars? Emma Stone taking Best Actress was kind of an upset that like
that was the other one that
people on my timeline were so mad about Lily Gladstone not getting Best Actress.
Boo hoo. She was good. She was good, but it was much like well, kind of like the Zone of Interest winning sound. It was like, oh man, she like what they do with sound in that, or like what she does with her performance in Poor Things is like so cool, so great, but they're gonna give it to the the one. They're gonna give it to the other one because that's what they do. And it was so surprising that they went with like, oh, they actually made the right choice. They actually picked the right one.
Right. And if you go back and look, even Emma Stone is just like,
yeah, no, you could tell like her whole speech, like you could tell that was like actual shot. Like she wasn't like
she's
faking
like,
the whole.
I thought Lily Gladstone was gonna win this.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, that was like hands down. She
deserved it.
Absolutely. But yeah, Lily Gladstone was like solid, but it's like, I don't know. I just thought Emma Stone was just kind of just on a whole other like level with that. Like, any other year, where you didn't have that performance, sure, Lily Gladstone, I can get behind it any day, but not when you got Bella Baxter. And then Wes Anderson too. Wes Anderson won.
Yeah, that's true. Like his first Oscar ever.
Yeah. Which
also
it would have been
wasn't
funny.
There.
Yeah. Yeah. He made 4, because what they did, it was like maybe they did like every day, or maybe it was like every other day for like a week. He released or like a weekend. He released a short film. So there's 4 short films, and Henry Sugar was the first one. But I thought, and that probably was my favorite of the 4. I will say, I haven't seen Asteroid City, but compared to French Dispatch, I liked them a lot more. And maybe it's because they're like short films, like it kind of fits their nature, because like it's even, the short films are so incredible, like every time he like out Wes Anderson's himself sort of thing. Yeah. And they are, I would say, even more Wes Anderson-y than French Dispatch. But it's like it fits the sensibilities of the story, because they're all adaptations of Roald Dahl books.
Okay.
So it just works because it kind of it fits the vibe, It feels like a how you would adapt a Roald Dahl story. It is kind of, that's how the characters act and stuff. So yeah, I think they're pretty good. I like those.
Are they on Netflix?
Yep.
Okay.
And that's the longest. That one is like 40, 45 minutes, but the other ones are all like 10 to 20, I think.
Okay.
It does really cool stuff with like the set work where it's like it starts with like a character, he's like in a lounge chair, he's reading a book in like a study, and then, you know, it's like he's reading the story that you're going to hear, you know, that the short is about. So then he like gets up out of the chair, and then the walls and like the entire set moves away, and now he's outside and the characters from the story are walking in, and like, so it's a lot of like in camera like sets changing around, and like you're going from one location to another in one continuous take. So there's a lot of cool like filmmaking stuff there that I think like in a movie that, again, like French Dispatch, where it's a little more, it feels more forced in something like that, whereas in these shorts it makes sense for the world, and like, you know, fits in with the vibe or whatever. So like it. Also, I mean, I can't say compared to the other ones, it is the only short that I saw, and I saw it because it was Wes Anderson, but
right,
I can't really say it compared to the rest of them, but I did like that, and I think it's cool that he's got an Oscar now. This was an Oscar for the you know, for like our age boys, you know, when we were in high school and we were like Wes Anderson, Christopher Nolan heads. It's like, hey, they both got Oscars. Robert Downey Jr.'s got an Oscar.
all we need is like David Fincher up there.
Yeah.
It's like the 2010s are back.
Yeah. We preemptively pulled. We already know what we're pulling. So we're gonna have a friend come on again who has been in, I think, half an episode before. I don't think he
showed up at the end of an episode.
Yeah. And he didn't pick this one. I drew it from the cup originally, and then knew that he was going to want to be on for it, so I asked him. So it's not a recommendation from him, but he is coming on for this one in like specifically. I forgot if I said already. It's our friend Ethan. He was on our episode 50. He showed up at the end of that one. But anyways, the movie that we're gonna watch is it's our dud week. So the movie that we're gonna watch is from 2009, directed by Mark Regan. It is called After Last Season. So that's the thing. And Ethan kind of, when I asked him a long time ago if he would like want to be on the show, and he's like maybe sometime, but if you ever get these, like, and he gave me a list of like 5 movies. If you ever do these movies, I'll come on for it, and this was one of them.
I take it he's seen it before and is...
No, he hasn't. No.
Oh.
No, I'll tell you what. It's because he watched, how I found out about it too is Ralph the Movie Maker did a video on it. And he, we've like talked about him before, how he has a handful of videos where he like talks about like really bad movies that are really good, and this was one of them, and I think it just kind of piqued his interest. Love on a Leash was another one that I got from Ralph the Movie Maker, and I actually asked Ethan if he wanted to be on that one too, but I don't know. Maybe he just didn't see in time or something. I don't know. He just couldn't make it work. But anyways,
it looks delightfully bizarre.
Yeah. At the very least, it's short, and it is free.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, which is nice. Makes it easy. All right, so watch After Last Season before next week's episode if you don't want to be spoiled for it. These episodes come out every Wednesday at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube and Twitch in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more in audio form. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And with all of that said, I am your, I think I'm saying this right, something along the lines of, I am your goddamn son of a whoreson bitch, TJ. Something like that. Jake Gyllenhaal says it to Heath Ledger at some point. And with me as always.
As always, I'm sick of beans. Trying to, this goddamn bitch of an unsatisfactory situation. There it is. So I'm like looking on the IMDb quotes for something, but no, I'm gonna stick with I'm sick of beans. And I'm Nick.
And that's it. Wish you could quit you.
There it is.